How is it possible that the holiday that is probably the most important is least observed in Judaism? The holiday of Shavuos, when we got the Torah from God on Mount Sinai. Yes. And we also have good traditions. We eat a lot of dairy, cheesecake, ice cream. And I'm going to talk about later. I'm going to after I speak a little bit, I'm going to make a suggestion for someone who identifies as a Noahide. How can they celebrate Shavuot? And it'll be different than a Jewish person, but also similar, a lot of similarities. I'll talk about that soon. So who's watching us? Who's on Instagram? Where are you watching from? What city, what country? Shalom. Matthew, hello. Anyone else watching us? And where you're watching from? We want to know where our people are at. All right. So there's a very interesting medrash brought down in the Talmud that says that when God gave the 10 Commandments, it sort of reverberated at the same time into 70 different languages. Why 70 different languages? And the answer is because the 10 Commandments was not only for the Jewish people. The 10 Commandments is an offshoot of the 7 Noahide laws, and that's for humanity, for all human beings. So if God would go, so to say, out of his way to make a miracle where every time he spoke, it was, broadcasted in 70 different languages. Today, there's an app for that, by the way. Right. But then you needed God, okay? So God says, I am the Lord your God. At the same time, it was heard in the 70 different languages in the world. And that's because Kabbalah talks about 70 different soul systems connected to the different paths of different kinds of Gentiles who are created by God to serve God, to fulfill their purpose in this world. And the 10 Commandments was very important that they heard that. And so God actually creates this miracle where every commandment was said in 70 languages, and to inspire the 7 laws of Noah for everyone. Okay. So I'm going to go over the story a little bit in a quick overview. Nessa Synagogue in Beverly Hills. Oh, very nice. Florida. Shalom from Florida. We have someone from Pennsylvania, someone from NYC. Good. We have people from all over the place. All right. Well, welcome to our B'nai Noach class where we teach Torah to humanity. And as long as you're human, I think you'll find something meaningful here. Stick around. All right. So in a nutshell, I want to give you the holiday of Shavuot from a Jewish perspective, and then I want to talk about why I think there's a way for a B'nai Noach to celebrate Shavuot as well. In short, it's when God gave the Torah to the Jewish people at Mount Sinai. The Jewish people left Egypt. 49 days later, they came and received the Torah at Mount Sinai. Moshe goes up on the mountain, and there's this great revelation. The giving of the Torah is the greatest religious claim. What's the greatest religious claim that exists from any religion? The greatest revelation. And the answer is the giving of the Torah. Why? Most religions will have a revelation at some point by God to a small group, maybe 10 people, 10 people, and they go out and tell everyone that God spoke to us. But when God spoke on Mount Sinai, everyone present heard God. Not only that, but all of humanity knew and heard God. Why? Because God doesn't speak from a mountaintop. When God speaks, everything says, I am the Lord your God. The earth, the trees, your flesh, the clouds, the planets, everything that's created by God says, I am the Lord your God. It was the greatest revelation. And so there was no question if God was speaking or not. It wasn't like, well, you heard it, right? Are you sure? No, it's like, we all heard it. And we tell our kids, we heard it from God. And their kids tell their kids, Grandma, Grandpa, they heard it. And that's the most, listen, the point is, it's the most difficult claim to pull off, get away with. But if you go to most human beings in the world, and that most human beings believe in the Ten Commandments, and they believe in this story. It's quite the story. Let's see who else is watching. Who's watching on Instagram? Any new people joining us? Where are you joining from? All right. So at the time the Torah was given, the Jewish people were given the job to be the ones that teach the world the 7 laws of Noah. We kind of dropped the ball on that one. After 3,000 years of a lot of moving around and getting kicked out of countries and temples burning down and Holocaust, and there wasn't a lot of bandwidth left to teach Torah to humanity. But the Lubavitcher Rebbe was very, very vocal about how important this is. And I feel like now it's a revelation. I went to a convention of Chabad rabbis in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, last week on Wednesday. And there was probably 150 rabbis there. And I walked around with my camera to every single one. Are you teaching Torah to Gentiles? And without skipping a beat, everyone says, yes, I am. And I interviewed them about it. Who do you know? Who are you teaching? Everyone's doing it. And I was actually impressed to see that. I recorded the video, and I will be releasing one video. I did about 7 of them. I'll be releasing one a week for the next 7 weeks, spread it out a little, featuring rabbis from the tri-state area and their experiences teaching Torah. But that calling is something that the Rebbe spoke a lot about that people haven't really been doing. But I think we're living in better times. What was that?
That's wonderful.
It was great to hear. And I played with them a little bit. I was like, are you trying to convert them? I was like trying to bring out like the points, and they were great. Every single one of them were very talented. Okay, so this is the holiday of Shavuos. What do Jewish people do on Shavuos? So first of all, we all go to the synagogue and we hear the reading of the 10 Commandments. All right? That's one thing we do. There's a tradition on Shavuot to stay up all night and study the Torah. And the story goes that when the Jewish people were supposed to receive the Torah at sunrise, it's a whole different story, they slept in that morning. And so we stay up the whole night to show, to rectify their mistake. The Rebbe explains that there was a deeper message there that, why would they sleep? Imagine I told you you're going to win the lottery. You have to go just pick up the ticket tomorrow, 5 a.m. You're going to go to sleep that night. You'll be up early. You'll camp in front of the door, right? So the answer is they had this false understanding of what the purpose of life is. They felt like, this divine revelation is going to be so spiritual. I'm never going to be able to understand it or hear it. So I might as well go to sleep and I'll be like in a subconscious state, and my soul will experience that because I can't handle that, right? And like the whole, and so if that's the case, why don't we sleep? And we should just all go to sleep the whole holiday, right? Eat a lot of cheesecake, which is the tradition. I'll talk about that soon. Eat a lot of cheesecake and then go to sleep for the whole experience, so your soul could experience it. So the answer is God didn't want to give the Torah to souls. There's no point in making a world if he was giving the Torah to souls or angels. God wanted the Torah to be given by human beings, limited human beings, frail human beings with weaknesses that will rise above those weaknesses. And despite the challenges, will make the world a better place. There's no, I usually say in Hebrew, chidush. There's no, it's not impressive when an angel does something right. When a human does something right, that's impressive. So God didn't want to give the Torah to our souls. He wanted to give it to us. And we should absorb as much as we possibly can, even though we're not perfect. Otherwise, he didn't need to create this world. So anyway, so we actually stay up all night and sunrise. And then when I was in Israel, I had one of the most magical experiences when I was in Israel for Shavuot 2 years ago. And we stayed up the whole night, and we went from synagogue to synagogue to synagogue, and they were packed with people studying, and every synagogue had different coffee and treats and pastries. It was so nice. And we went to, Hasidic ones and Sephardic ones, and and then by 3:30 a.m. we started walking towards the Temple Mount, and the streets are packed with people. People are walking through the alleys, the old cobblestone, and then you see like the sky starting to change color over the Kotel, the Western Wall. And there were thousands of people just packed by the Kotel. And the idea is to pray as early as possible. And then there was different groups of people that were reading the Torah. And you heard the 10 commandments. It was just so beautiful. And you were just standing next to all different kinds of Jewish people. It was very colorful. It was really an experience. So here in our little city of Ventnor, we will start a late night study at 12. And I told everyone, I'll stay in the synagogue as long as someone else wants to stay with me. But if anyone else if no one's going to be there, I'm just going to go study in my house. I don't need to sit in an empty building. But we always start. We start at like midnight, and we go an hour, we go 2, 3, and sometimes we've gone to 4 a.m. And then we walk to the beach and watch the sunrise. And then we take a little nap here, and we start again services at 10 o'clock. So you can get your 3-4 hours in. And then we do a 10 o'clock service here.
So Monday the 2nd.
So Monday morning.
Services at about.
Yeah, I'd say about 11-ish, 11:30, we're reading the 10 Commandments. Yeah. So that's one tradition. Another tradition is to cover the synagogue with flowers. And the reason is the Midrash says that Mount Sinai was a desert mountain, and miraculously it just burst forth with flowers and vegetation. And to symbolize that beauty, that miracle, and to decorate the Torah and to beautify the Torah, we bring flowers to our home and our synagogue. It's a time to have flowers around to remind us of that.
Are there preferences as to cut flowers or flowering plants? Are both allowed, or cut flowers? Just
anything that decorates, the synagogue or the house. Your own houses should have, okay, so that's enough. There's a tradition on Shavuot to eat dairy, and there's several reasons given. One is more Jewish connected, and one's more Kabbalistic, and I think it's more B'nai Noach connected, okay? And the reason we eat dairy, so we're advertising an ice cream party with bagels and cream cheese and pizza, and we've done baked ziti and cheesecake, a lot of cheesecakes and stuff. And that's what people think about when they think about Shavuos. One explanation is because we didn't yet have the laws of kosher, and it was on a Shabbat, the holiday, and we were just given the laws, so we couldn't eat any animals because we weren't able to eat the animal we had in our refrigerator, from the day before. It wasn't kosher, right? There was no refrigerators. But as a result, so what do they eat? So they were vegetarians, basically, and they ate dairy. That's all they were able to eat, so we remember that. And Kabbalistically speaking, Torah, what we study here, the wisdom of Torah is symbolized by dairy, by milk. Milk is, Kabbalistically speaking, milk is chesed, it's kindness. It represents nurturing and love and sustenance. And the Torah is the sustenance to a human being. If we want to know, what to do in our lives, and we want guidance, and we want sustenance, we don't want spiritual sustenance, we turn to the Torah. A Jewish person studies the 613 mitzvahs. A non-Jewish person studies the 7 laws of Noah and beyond. And that's our sustenance. So symbolically, the milk represents that. Dairy represents that. And there's a deeper explanation that really Passover is all about blood. You think about, right? The blood on the doorpost, the blood of the suffering. There's like a lot of symbolizing of blood. Like the Nile River turns to blood, right? There's a lot of like symbolism of blood in Passover. And that's like the birth of the Jewish people. A birth includes a lot of blood in creating a baby, in the mother creating a baby and then giving birth. And then Shavuos is 49 days later. And that is now that is now a child, that is a creation. And so the imagery, the energy is not of blood, which is Kabbalah says gevura, it's strength. It's different. It's love. It's nurturing. And so some people don't care about all this. Some people are like, Rabbi, I don't care. Just pass another slice of cheesecake, please. Like, I don't need to know why. I love the cheesecake. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. I see. Okay. I could appreciate that. What? Yes. Thorns? Yes. Also, the numerical value, there's a lot of gematria in the Torah. Hebrew letters, every letter has a number. And chalav, if we add up the letters, chalav, it is, ches is 8. Help me out here. Ches is 8, lamed is 30, and vez is 2.
40.
Wait, 1 second. Listen. Do the math for me.
40.
One more time.
8, 30.
Yeah, ches is 8, lamed is 30, and vez, vet is 2. 40. And Moses was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. So the milk is like symbolic of that experience. And that's another reason we have. But what were you going to say?
That experience that you talked about is interesting because you felt it while you were in Israel.
Yeah.
We were in Italy when the Pope was
I'm sorry.
was selected.
Sorry, we dropped you guys.
And we had the same experience. We never seen that before. I didn't want to go. She said, "Well, you gotta go." He said,
We gotta
"Yeah." So we got on a cab and went. Right? And all the bells of every single church that was in Italy was like, and people were running with the families. Little kids and everything running to make it before the Pope came out to that balcony. So I relayed that experience that you had with all masses of people, TVs, and I'm glad we did it because it's a historical moment in the world that we can now enjoy when we see the second selection of the new one. We were like, wow,
That's fascinating.
maybe I've done that.
That is
But
fascinating.
that connected when you said that. I said, we done that. We experienced that.
When a lot of people appreciate, right, some things, and they're moved by it, it becomes an event, right? Okay, so we're talking about that. Okay, so how can a B'nai Noach celebrate Shavuot? First of all, not like a Jewish person because we don't work and all that, so there's no restriction there. But since Shavuot is the time that the Torah was given to the world, and the B'nai Noach is now given the opportunity, was restated to do the 7 Noahide laws, I would say there's 3 ways that a B'nai Noach could celebrate Shavuot. And one is, number 1 is, what would I say was the first one?
Hear
I would say
the reading of the commandments.
before even that, number one to review and study the 7 laws of Noah in depth. Number 2 is find a B'nai Noach friendly synagogue, and you don't have to do this, but you may want to be there when the 10 commandments are being read. And number 3 is to decorate your home with flowers. And here's extra credit. Number 4 is to eat a dairy meal to, to recognize that what we're celebrating, the Torah, is likened to chesed, to kindness, which is the energy of dairy.
So a cheeseburger.
A cheeseburger. So a cheeseburger would be not a problem, but on Shavuot, if you want to tap into the energy of Shavuos, you want just the cheese.
Yeah, how about cheese?
What?
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese.
Cheese.
There you go.
Makes you smile. Just to see.
I miss a cheeseburger.
Yeah, he was joking.
Yeah.
Last week,
I never seen that.
last week and by the way, I called the rabbi that gives me guidance on B'nai Noach. I said, like, I felt like so weird saying, what bracha do you make on a cheeseburger or no pepperoni pizza? And he was no. He said, you're 100% right. A B'nai Noach is allowed to eat a pepperoni pizza, but if they feel blessed and they want to thank God, they should make a bracha on the pepperoni pizza.
So
Bread,
would
the
you,
bread,
would
that's
you
the most-
make it for, would you make hamotzi for the bread because it's wheat?
Right. We said the bread is the most you would wash for hamotzi. Well, you wouldn't wash, but you would make hamotzi on the bread, and that would cover the whole meal.
So just like separate the.
No, you could eat it. You could eat it with the cheese, but you would make the hamotzi, and it will include everything. That is the main entity of the meal, the
We
bread.
tried to isolate like which prayer
Yeah.
should be using all week, and I gave him a lot of different things, so he was really called upon. I'm like, okay, which one right now?
But if you eat cheese, you can't eat meat. Like
That's if you're Jewish. Yeah.
you can't. I heard you can't eat meat
Right.
within 3 hours or something like that.
So B'nai Noach could eat milk and meat together. It's not one of the 7 laws of Noah. But in the Jewish religion, if you eat dairy, you wait like a half hour or an hour, and then you could eat meat. But if you eat meat, you have to wait 6 hours. So on Shavuot night, the tradition of my family, by the way, is no, we actually do eat meat, but we eat both. So we start the meal with dairy. We might have some like cheese blintzes or something, and then we take that off, clear the table. We'll have some fish and salads. We'll talk. We'll schmooze. We'll sing. We'll argue a little, whatever, and then it's an hour later. It's just a really long meal. We'll pull out the main course, which is fine. Now it's meat. That's what we do. Yeah. And it reflects the meal that Abraham gave to the angels. If you remember, if you read the Torah, people are like, hey, first he gave cream, and then it says he gave a tongue.
Fish?
You ever eat tongue? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Cow?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a delicacy.
Yeah, I
It's a
don't know.
delicacy.
I never tried it.
Question.
Let me tell you. When I found out I was eating tongue, I made the same face you're making. But oh, is it good? Yeah.
I never
Trust me.
understood.
Well, tone from what I.
cow.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Cow.
Yeah, from the cow.
So I was a kid. It was one of the holidays, and they gave me this slice, looked like meat, and it was sweet. It was very sweet. It was cooked in like some kind of sweet stuff, and it was just like I was like, "Give me more, give me more, give me more." And then my grandmother told me, "Oh, eat more. It's delicious. It's tongue." And I like spit it out. I was like, "What?" It's like, "What? Whose tongue?" It's like, "Oh, the cow's tongue." And I became really mature very quickly because I was like, wait a second, that was really good.
And why is the separation of the dishes? One is for meat and the other is for dairy.
So the Torah doesn't allow a Jewish person to eat milk and meat together.
And if you look meat and dairy are very unhealthy together.
Yeah.
They don't
They are.
digest.
They don't digest at the same
No,
time.
you
And
should not eat
beverages-
meat and cheese
beverages,
together.
Like drink a good amount of water,
Yeah.
half an hour later have a meal,
Yeah.
but you reduce
Yeah.
any beverage, anything.
Yeah.
Even water or tea or
Right.
wine or whatever. When you're eating solid food,
Mhm.
you have certain digestive
Enzymes? Is that what the word is?
that are produced, and
Right.
you're washing them away before they can
Yeah.
digest your food. So not even a lot of liquid with solids. Like,
Oh.
nutritionally.
And that's
they're-
super
they're-
cold, like super cold
Yeah,
water.
I do root.
No.
Yeah.
I do root.
Huh.
Yeah.
So I guess if a B'nai Noach wants to not mix, but there isn't a prohibition, or even like we have to wait 6 hours between meat and milk, but you don't have to. Okay.
Explain. The Torah doesn't
The Torah doesn't give that reasoning.
It doesn't have to.
Right.
No, it was told.
Yeah,
But
we
it's-
do it.
It's funny that it
Yeah.
is. It's a law for the
Nutritionally-
Jewish, and
Yeah.
nutritionally it really is.
Correct.
You're
It's
correct.
Yeah.
Right. It is fascinating that they see like, oh, health-wise, it makes sense. I just want to take a moment to look online. Who's with us?
I want cheese.
Checking in.
It's not healthy.
They've just been, because they were told.
I went to a house.
Most of the world got the Ten Commandments through Christianity. What would be a way of teaching the commandments to all based solely on the Torah for non-Jewish people? So, I mean, if you go through the Ten Commandments, the only thing that someone could say is maybe not for a non-Jewish person might be Shabbat. But we explained here a few times already that there's two parts of Shabbos. There's remembering that today's a holy day because God created the world. And then there's the not working because God says, I took you out of Egypt. And there's two. So it's Zachor and Shamor, guarding and, well, remembering and guarding. A B'nai Noach or any human being should really recognize Saturday as the day that God rested. And while they don't have to abstain from work, but they should walk around with that sense of awe and appreciation for life and for their creation and the world's creation. So even though Shabbos is not an obligation for the 7 laws of Noah, it is still something that could and should be acknowledged. Shabbat is only on Saturdays, not Sundays. LOL, sorry.
How would you know which day?
What? No, I guess, whatever. Yeah, so a little more. So that's my little, so I said 3 ways that a B'nai Noach could celebrate Shavuot if they want to.
And you
We
get
actually
4.
gave you 4. You got a bonus and we didn't even charge you extra for that. You're welcome. Some
Why did it get lost? The tradition. You say it's one of the most important days.
Yeah, how did it get lost? You're right.
Yeah, why did it get lost?
I don't know. Maybe it comes with a lot of guilt. We got to actually follow these laws.
Reminder.
The Orthodox never lost it.
Torah chanters here. Welcome. What's that?
I think the observant Jews never lost it.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's a very, very important holiday, Yeah, and if you come to Chabad, you're going to see a packed house. It's going
Is
to
it
be.
get celebrated in Israel?
Oh yeah, and that's what I was telling you. We stay up all night, and I was walking to the list.
okay.
That was such an experience for me. And yeah, I felt like it was like the Star Trek or Star Wars. Like there's that place where all the different aliens meet, and like they're all from different planets. Believe it or not, like from the outside, like all Jewish people just like, oh, you're Jewish. But like from the inside, you realize like this one's Satmar and this one's Bubba and this one's Bells and this one's light skinned and this one's dark skinned and this one's from the Middle East and this one's from Russia. And it was like real like different traditions, the same Torah with different. It was really cool to like go from one. There's this place called Mea She'arim. It's like a really religious neighborhood. And like super, like not that I'm not, but closed from the world. And like every door you open's another hidden synagogue, and you like open door and you come into this like room and there's like 300 people singing and there's the Rebbe in the middle and you're like, whoa, okay, you close it. And you go down the aisle and you open up and there's this little synagogue with a couple people, older people sitting, and there's a place with a bunch of young people. And it's just like really cool to walk through and
Do you see more of a growth here in the States of awareness and like participation for Shabbat?
that's what I try to do. There is more awareness. The fact that a little town like Ventnor could bring together 100 people on Shavuot to listen to the thing is probably something that hasn't happened in a long time
I
here.
don't
So
know if they did it before, but
many did it,
the
right?
JCC is closed for Shabbat.
They are,
They are.
yeah, but no one would actually go to synagogue.
Okay, but
Unfortunately.
it's a step.
Yeah, it's acknowledged that it's a holiday, right?
It's a sign on the door.
Right.
Like, oh, why are we closed?
Right. I think the preschool closes one of the 2 days. I think so, of Shavuos. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. Anyway, who's watching, guys? And where are you watching from? Who are my people? Who's with me? Are you guys enjoying this? Should we switch up the topics? What do you think? Okay. one of the interesting things that happened is the Medrash says that God turns to the Jewish people and says,
But it's in
do you want the Torah? And
Yes, the Jewish people.
yes, do you want the Torah? And the Jewish people said, Na'aseh v'nishma.
That's the best.
We will do it and then we'll understand it, which means yes. But it's an interesting concept, and I want to unpack this a little bit. This idea of like, if God wants to give us something, I know it's good, and yes, I'll do it. And later I'll understand it.
Mhm.
You know, in life, sometimes people say, well, listen, I'm not going to take, I'm not going to take that medicine. I'm going to go to medical school for 10 years and I'm going to learn about what that medicine does. And then I'll decide if I want to put that in my body. The doctor would say, yeah, well, good luck. Hope you make it that long, right? No.
Right.
But somebody who's wise, right? Someone who's wise says to the doctor, yes. And then while you're taking it, you start doing research. What am I taking? And then you could appreciate what you're taking. And that's sort of what happens when God offers the Torah to the Jewish people. Do you want it? And they said, yes, we will do it. Yes. If God wants to give us something, yes.
But it's interesting that he asked.
Yeah.
You know when it comes to being lazy.
Because if you don't choose something, it'll always, it's still a fight, right? It's still a fight. But there's something about doing something by choice. And that's important. And I think that works also the way we educate our children or influence people around us. We can't just be preaching. We have to awaken within them the interest, the choice to be interested, to want to receive it. Otherwise, you're just going to be knocking your head against the wall, as they say.
The great teachers.
Yeah.
Inspire. They don't
Right,
cut. They don't force you to do it.
right.
Force.
So it was a choice. Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do it, then we will understand it. But but the second point is so important. We will do it, and then we will understand it. But we will understand. It's not blind faith. It's saying, I don't know God's ways. So if God tells me to do something, I will do it. But I will never stop to try to understand and give it meaning and understand what and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So that's an important thing.
There's a great, like the idea of a weighted average, like something having more value. In Buddhism, your willingness
Mm-hmm.
is of greater value
Uh-huh.
than just saying yes, maybe out of obligation or you were told to do something.
Right.
So when you are really willing, you bring that
Right.
energy of willingness,
Comes from you.
you get more value.
Exactly.
You get more value back.
That's good. That's a good lesson.
Sure.
Um,
You feel good about it.
so, right.
It's wonderful.
So many religions say it's all about faith. Religion says it's all about faith. The Torah doesn't say it's all about faith. Torah says I need faith because there's things I don't understand and God is greater than me. So I need to start with faith, but it's not all about faith. First, they said, Na'aseh, we will do it. But they also said, Vinishma, and then we're going to understand it. We're going to try to internalize it. We're going to try to make sense of it.
We'll study.
We'll study it. Exactly. So it's a two-pronged process, not just blind faith. That's not a Torah way. We like questions. We like challenges. We like to dig deeper. And then while we're doing that, we understand that God is infinite and we really can't understand everything. But we try because then it's ours.
So
The
challenge.
willingness,
The Torah is kind of
Celebrated.
educating yourself.
celebrated, yes.
Celebrate.
Right. But not out of senseless doubt, but out of unique thirst, out of a real thirst to find truth and meaning. So you ask questions. There's some people. Last night I got stuck on TikTok live because, long story, I'll tell you the story. Okay, so what happened is I had this brilliant idea. We're going to bake 30 potato kugels in the shul. Okay, Ella got a bunch of kids together, and they did 30 potato kugels in the shul. Amazing. And I was like, I'm so smart, like I'm so organized. We wrapped them, and well, what happened was she said, done. I was like this, and then I came to the synagogue, and Ella left, and all the volunteers left, and it's 10 o'clock at night, and there are 30 potato kugels sitting on the table, but no one cut them up into squares, or cover it with silver foil, or wrote what's on it, or wrapped it with saran wrap, or put the 30 potato kugels into the freezer.
Was there room in the freezer?
And no one checked to see if there was room in the freezer. So there I am after a long day thinking like, well, I'm not that smart. And I found myself just mindlessly just cutting. It takes time to cut each one. It took more than an hour to just cut them and cover them and wrap them. I know it was 10 o'clock at night. I couldn't leave it out. So I pulled out my phone. I said, okay, TikTok Live. I put it there. I said, hey, guys, I'm going to do this. Let's talk. People asked all these amazing questions. It was really nice. And we went late. Like I got caught up with it. Like I forgot about the potato kugels in the middle. But anyway, it was good. And then what happened was like these people were like just calling in like a radio show. It was so cool. We had Muslims, Christians, Jews. Like people were just, Rabbi, I have a question. And I felt like Sean Hannity, you know what I mean? It was the funniest thing. Anyway, so one person's like, I have a question. And then he starts to preach like all this stuff from like the New Testament at me. He's going on and on and on and on and on. I said, you said you have a question. You seem to be telling me something. You're not asking me anything. And he's like, yeah, I'm not asking anything. So I said, oh, so you had an answer. You should have started off, I have an answer. And then I would have said, well, I don't have a question. We would have moved on. But I mean, it was nice to him, but we did joke around a little bit. But I shared a story I once heard. I thought it was a cool story. They tell the story of a very religious Hasidic young man who got enticed by the ways of the world, and he went off from the path of religion. It started off by going into business, and he went out of his community, and he was having food that wasn't kosher, and before you know it, he wasn't back anymore. One day he's traveling, and this is in the old country. One day he's traveling on business, and he passes by his village where he grew up, and the nostalgia. He could smell the potato kugel. He could smell the food, and he remembers going to synagogue with his grandfather, and he remembers sitting in the shul, and the Rebbe would sing a song, and everyone was just wrapped up in the inspiration and the holy, and he missed it. And he was like, I gotta go in. I gotta go see it. It's been so many years. They're not even going to recognize me. And he sort of makes his way in, and it's Shabbat. No one's in the houses. They're all in the synagogue. And the Rebbe's there at the head of the table, and the room is packed, and they're singing songs, and the room is bright, and there's delicious food on the table, and everyone's singing the melodies together, and he's just swept away like the good old days. And slowly but surely, they're like moving him. He's moving to the front, and he's sitting right next to the Rebbe. And he's so inspired, he finally turns to the Rebbe, and he says, Rebbe, I had so many doubts and so many questions about religion. If you right now, right here could answer, I have a whole list of questions. If you could answer my questions, I'm never going to leave. I'm back. I'm going to stay forever. And the Rebbe looks at him and says, I'm sorry, I can't answer your question. And he says, why not? And he says, because your questions are not questions. Your questions are answers. He says, what do you mean? And he says, you don't really have a question. You have you don't want to be restricted by these laws and these rules, and you want to enjoy life more, and you want to have, the freedom to make more choices and do all this stuff. So you created questions to justify the life that you want. So your question is not a question. Your question is an answer to your impulses.
Right.
And you can't answer an answer. You could only answer a question. So I can't answer your question.
That's deep.
It's very deep.
Justification, huge, like we play with your
Yeah.
we create scenarios that say, well, I deserve or I legitimately need to make this choice, not because of ego, but because of what is external. But we sought the external
Right.
to justify.
And that's like a deep meditation. A lot of times we create these like castles in our minds to, like you say, justify things, but no, we have to ask real questions. Real questions are beautiful, but they have to be real questions. They can't be answers. So the guy last night came on and says, I have a question, and started to preach at me for like 5 minutes straight. And I'm like, you don't have a question, you have an answer. Good for you. I'm glad you have an answer.
I use this that I learned from you. So when I'm talking to Christian people, I go, well, we need to do like the Torah. You don't add to the Torah and you don't take away from the Torah.
Right.
So don't create your own ideas of what the Bible says. Just follow what the Bible says.
Right. Exactly. We don't add, we don't subtract.
You don't add and you don't subtract.
Sometimes it's harder not to add because people have very good imaginations. Talking about this conversation that we just had, again, ties into the holiday of Shavuot in a very real way, and that is, why a desert? Why was the Torah, why was the 10 Commandments given in a desert? You would think it should be maybe in like a metropolitan, a big theater, maybe in a
Why not Jerusalem?
maybe in a holy place like Jerusalem,
Yeah.
maybe in a tropical rainforest to get in touch with nature, but a barren, vast, empty desert, sandy, like, and not a lot of life. I mean, there is life in the desert, but generally it's the lack of life that's there. It's a lot of dry sand. I mean, it is beautiful, but why a desert? And the sages answer that to be a student of truth, of God, of the Torah, you need a blank canvas. You need to forget everything you've ever learned. When we study Torah, we have to become humble and sit in front of the Torah and forget every theory we learned in science and school and everything, and approach it like a child with innocence. So many times we study the Torah and I hear people say, oh, I heard this and I learned this over there, this over there. And that's nice after you learn something to compare it. But if you want to absorb it, you want to be a student of God, you need to be humble. And that canvas, that blank canvas is what's needed. There's nothing like they say when you teach Torah to a child, it's like writing with ink on fresh paper. And that's why it stays forever. You teach something to a child, it's like wet cement. The imprint's there forever. An adult, we don't learn that way. We have so much information and we are very cynical. And everything we hear and everything we know, we compare and we say, well, is this really true? Or is this like the other guy who tried to lie to me about the tooth fairy? So do I have to believe, right? And so we've gone through a lot of experiences. So in our lives, we're always comparing everything and we're not sure, we'll take a little of this, a little of that, we'll mix it together, but we're not being a true student of God. To be a true student of God, forget everything. Become like a child. As the sages say, a child is like writing on fresh paper, not paper that you take a pencil and you erased it 100 times. It's rubbed, it's falling apart, and you could see a lot of information from before. The ink doesn't really stick anymore. That's an adult. The desert is the canvas that's necessary to experience Torah study. I think when we come here and we study B'nai Noach and Torah, we have to try to become that too.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's,
Teachers are still learning. They're still learning
yes,
about the kids they're teaching. Something like that.
that's true.
Gotta be careful.
That's true. It's very profound. I think that the best way to learn is to teach. Anyway. All right, friends. Are you following online? Did I put you to sleep? How we doing here? Oh, I just zoomed into myself. I don't know how I did that. Oh, there you go. Okay. Are you guys with us? Who's watching? Where are you watching from? Wow, philosophical. Oh, thank you, Matthew. I don't know what you're saying that to. Someone just wrote, I make delicious noodle kugels, sweet, not savory. Ha! That's so funny you say that. That's next week's project. We're making 30, by the way, sweet. We call them Luxion kugels. Haddon Township, New Jersey. Oh, you're not too Sean, you're not too far away. You got to come join us. All these wonderful people. Study B'nai Noach with this crowd over here. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Anyway, all right, listen to this love story. So a guy decides to propose to his girlfriend. So he pulls out an AR-15 and aims it at her. And he says, marry me or I'll blow your head off. How romantic is that? When God gave the Torah to the Jewish people on Mount Sinai, he kind of did something like that. Yeah, the Medrash says something wild. Yeah, God takes the Mount Sinai, takes the mountain, puts it over the heads of the Jewish people, and he says, accept the Torah or this will be your burial place.
So he will drop it and kill everyone.
And then they said, yeah, we want the Torah.
Okay,
The story doesn't even make sense because we just learned before that they already said that he asked and they said, Na'aseh v'nishma, we'll do it and we'll understand it. So how do we make sense of this medrash that says that God threatened to crush them right then and there? Not very romantic. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And the Torah, the giving of the Torah is supposed to be like a love story between, God and the Jewish people getting married. Not a very nice proposal. And it doesn't make
Is that
sense.
the origin of a shotgun wedding?
Shotgun wedding, right? There you go. So there's several explanations. They did make a mess of it eventually. There's a couple explanations. One is it's not literally what happened, but it's figuratively what happened. When God spoke for the first time to all the people there was such a mass revelation of godliness. It was as if the mountain was hanging over your head. You didn't have a choice. If you literally feel and experience God's presence, it's like, I can't say no to any of this. It's like when you're driving down the highway and there's no police. So you might go a little quicker than usual. But when there's one of those big cameras at you and it has the numbers rolling and if you go over, you're getting a ticket in the mail, you're not going to speed, right? When you're standing in front of God, it's like the mountain's on top of you. Of course you want the Torah. It's truth. It's God talking. It would be ridiculous not to accept the Torah. So one answer is given that while this story is not in the Torah, it's in the Medrash. It's later on. It's passed down through generations. It felt like the mountain was going to crush them, and they had no choice but to follow the Torah.
They must have been amazed.
They were shocked.
They heard lightning and saw thunder.
Right. We'll talk about that as well. Right.
Would that be a meaning of if you don't accept the Torah, you're going to carry a lot of weight on yourself?
But if God gave us a way of living and we don't follow that path, we have a lot of weight on ourselves. Yeah, it's horrible. God gave us a path, and we're just saying no to God. And so people in their head, they say, well, is there a God? Did God really say that? Da, da, da. Okay, so you justify it, and then we can do whatever we want. But when God's actually speaking to you, it's like the mountain's on top of you. You can't justify that.
You can't throw the is there a God
Right.
Vibrating because
Yes.
you're hearing God.
When God is talking through your hair follicles, you can't really. So that's one explanation. So there's a lot of another explanation that's given is that Hashem wanted to teach the Jewish people a lesson, and I think this lesson's for all people. And that is, at the moment when God said, "Do you want the Torah?" They heard God's voice, right? Of course, we want the Torah. We're in love. Yes, yes, I do, right? But what happens after the honeymoon? What happens every couple that ends up fighting and arguing, at one point they were madly in love with each other.
Honey, take out the trash.
But then, honey, take out, right.
You forgot the trash.
Very good. Good one. But honey, go take out the trash. But then, honey, please take out the trash
Don't forget to put it in another bag.
and put it in another bag. Right? That honeymoon love, it's not the same. God was telling the Jewish people, this commitment that we have to each other, it's not only because we're in love with each other and we're feeling all the butterflies and we see all the rainbows. This is a real commitment. And there will be days that you will wake up and you'll be like, what about all these laws and this commitment? It feels like I'm being crushed by a mountain. This is not what I signed up for. God symbolically holds the mountain over the head and says, you want the Torah? Are you in it through thick and thin? What a powerful message for all relationships as well. It's so easy to say, I do, when there's a big ring in front of us. It's easy. But is it easy to say, I do, when one spouse is suffering from illness, God forbid? Is it easy to say, I do, when a spouse is reliving maybe childhood trauma or fears and trying to work through it? It doesn't really feel as fun when the mountains feels like it's going to crush us. But do I do then? That's the question. And God says, do you really want the Torah? Are you really committed? Or only when it's fun? Or only when you're feeling the love? It's amazing. It's amazing, according to Jewish tradition, the reason why we stand under a canopy. Let me phrase it this way. Why does a couple who's getting married stand under a canopy, according to Jewish religion? There's a lot of explanations. One is it's like the house they'll build, which will have openings on all sides and will be giving kindness to the world. But there's another explanation. It's supposed to remind us of how when God gave the Torah on Mount Sinai, God proposed to the Jewish people. The mountain was held over their heads, seeming like it might crush them if they said they didn't want the Torah. The message on the day where everything's all love and I do is, sometimes it's not going to feel like it feels right now. Are you still committed? And so we create a canopy to remind us of Mount Sinai looming over the heads of the Jews, God saying, are you really committed? Yeah, I'm excited. I'm doing a wedding on the 8th. Yeah. And the bride and groom had a meeting with me, and they were like telling me, Rabbi, it's so strange at weddings. You hear all these rabbis like start to tell a bunch of jokes, like they think it's a comedy act. This is a wedding, not a comedy act. And I'm like, I have to pull out my notes. And I was like,
Now I have to think of my material.
we got to think about new material. You sure you want me to do this wedding? I mean, I got some really. You have any idea what I could contribute to this? Anyway.
You're taking all the fun away.
Anyway. Bronxy, hello. You need a physical one. I have one on my phone. Me too. I have one at home. I love the sound of the chauffeur. Oh, there's a whole conversation happening here at the same time. I love it. Anyway, so are we ready? I think we're ready to receive the Torah now. And I invite anyone here in the B'nai Noach community who wants to come at 11 o'clock on Monday and listen to the Ten Commandments and enjoy some delicious cheesecake and ice cream afterwards. And by the way, we have a nice tradition where all the children we bring them to the front of the synagogue. One of the most beautiful traditions that we do on the holiday of Shavuot is we invite all the children in the room to the front, and we remind the children of the great the Medrash that tells us that when God wanted to give the Torah to the Jewish people, he said, who's going to guarantee that you're going to actually follow all this? And they said, the rabbis. First thing is you blame everything on the rabbis. The rabbis. God says, good, but not good enough. The elderly, they'll be retired. They'll not good enough. And we went through the policeman, the parent, and finally God says, the Jewish people said, the children. And God says, yes, now I'll give you the Torah. So the children are the future. Hey, we should make a song about that. The children are the future, and not only the future, but really we have to all become children when we stand before God to receive the Torah. That innocence. So we have all the kids stand up in the front, and they all line up, and the cantor starts reading, Anochi Hashem Elokech, right? And all the kids are listening, and then afterwards, we sing the song. It's gonna be the little kinderlach. The little children, and all the kids, and then they go downstairs and they get their ice cream. It's beautiful. All right, so I actually didn't get to continue what I had planned over here, but we'll do it next time. Next week is Shavuot. There's no class on Monday. Let's play it by ear the next Monday. We're getting close to the summer. Let's convene. And I know for sure July and August we're going to take a little bit of a break. All right? All right. Thanks for those that followed online. Shalom.
Oh, yeah. And we're wonderfully late.
Wonderfully late. I like that. Wonderful.
He's trying to make
I like that.
Little change on the hat.
Celebrate the Jewish holiday of
It's still,
It's a pool hat.
it still has.
It's a pool
Right,
hat.
right, okay.
It's a pool hat.
It still has.
I'm gonna have to be able to. Now I go to the pool, they clean, and I come back. I don't have to do the cleaning
Yes.
and the water.
Joey left his next escapade.
Ah,
He's going somewhere.
Because I went to the house today and I didn't see, that's why I didn't see his car.
He just left.
Oh, he just left.
Just want to acknowledge that we still have one person on Twitch and we have a couple people on YouTube. So, hey. All right. Hope you enjoyed.